The deepest truth about timing is that it rarely makes sense until much later, when the pieces finally settle into place and reveal what was always moving beneath the surface.
Alan Watts often hinted that our lives are not random sequences of events but unfolding patterns, and these patterns only make sense when we step back from our constant need to control everything.
In this sense, Chapter 1 begins with the realization that consciousness itself is the architect of timing. Every thought, every doubt, every moment of clarity becomes a silent signal shaping what enters your life and when it arrives. People assume that things are delayed because life is being unfair, but in reality, life is waiting for you to become aligned with the version of yourself capable of carrying what you've asked for. There is something profoundly powerful in understanding that you don't meet experiences when you wish for them. You meet them when you are internally prepared to receive them. Imagine constantly asking for a door to open, while still holding the beliefs that keep that door locked. Life listens, but it also checks whether you're ready. If you are filled with fear, doubt, or old patterns that contradict what you're asking for, the timing pauses not as punishment, but as protection. This pause becomes a space for inner evolution. In that silence, in that waiting, consciousness reshapes itself. And the moment your inner state matches what you seek, timing unlocks without effort. Alan Watts often emphasized that the universe is not a machine responding to commands. It's an organism responding to awareness. You cannot force the tree to grow faster. You cannot pull the sun into rising earlier. Everything has its moment because everything is connected to a rhythm greater than desire. When your consciousness shifts, your rhythm shifts, and so does what appears in your life. This is why certain people appear exactly when you need them, why opportunities show up right after you've let go, and why clarity emerges the moment you stop overthinking. It's not coincidence, it's resonance. So the essence of timing begins with you, not with external circumstances. The world mirrors your inner world, and whatever you're prepared for will find its way to you effortlessly. When you raise your awareness, you raise the timing of your life, and suddenly what once felt distant begins to move toward you with a kind of graceful inevitability, as if it had been waiting all along for this exact version of you to appear. There comes a point in every person's journey where they realize that life is not something to be pushed or dragged into place. We spend so much energy forcing outcomes, trying to control details, and attempting to predict what will happen next, as if life is a puzzle that only our effort can solve. But Alan Watts teaches a much gentler truth. Life unfolds in the same way a river flows. You cannot push the river forward, and you cannot stop it from moving. You can only align yourself with its movement. Chapter 2 begins with this understanding that forcing is a sign of mistrust, while allowing is a sign of deep awareness. When you force life, you create resistance. When you allow life, you create flow. In the moments when nothing seems to be working, our instinct is to try harder, to push more, to chase something that keeps slipping from our hands. But the more intensely we chase, the more life seems to run in the opposite direction. This is not because we're undeserving, but because chasing operates from fear of losing, fear of missing out, fear that things won't happen unless we control them. Fear creates tension, and tension blocks the natural movement of life toward you. Alan Watts often said that life responds to relaxation in the same way a flower opens to sunlight. When you loosen your grip, what is meant for you finally has space to enter. Allowing is not passivity, it is alignment. It means trusting your inner readiness instead of manipulating outer circumstances. It means understanding that the right things move toward you when you stop trying to drag them. Every time you let go of overthinking, overplanning, or overcontrolling, you step into a state where you can actually notice what life has been trying to show you all along. Sometimes the answer appears when you stop forcing the question. Sometimes the person you're meant to meet arrives when you stop searching. Sometimes the opportunity reveals itself when you stop trying to predict where it will come from. Life moves with a rhythm, and this rhythm is felt, not controlled. When you learn to flow with it, to follow the quiet nudges, the subtle instincts, the inner pull instead of the outer pressure, you begin to see that everything you need naturally gravitates toward you. You're no longer chasing life, you're walking with it. And in that state of flow, timing stops feeling like an obstacle and becomes a companion guiding you toward exactly what is meant for you. There is a quiet truth that becomes undeniable the more you grow. The things you long for are not random desires floating through your mind. They are reflections of possibilities that already exist within you. When Alan Watts said that what you seek is also seeking you, he wasn't speaking poetically. He was pointing to a deep reality of consciousness. Desire is not a sign of lack. It is a sign of connection. It is an inner signal that something in the universe is resonating with the direction your soul wants to grow. Chapter 3 begins here with the idea that the future you dream of is not waiting to be created. It is waiting to be met. So much of our frustration comes from believing that our desires are far away, unreachable, or dependent on luck. But the truth is that every desire is a bridge between your present state and your potential self. When you desire something deeply, it means a part of you already recognizes it as possible. You have seen a glimpse of the path, even if you don't yet know how to walk it. That's why ignoring your true desires never brings peace. It only creates inner conflict. The desire keeps returning because it holds a message about who you are meant to become. This is why Alan Watts emphasized that your desires are invitations. They call you forward. They shape your decisions, shift your awareness, and slowly guide you into a version of yourself that can hold what you've been seeking. But this process cannot be rushed. You cannot demand the future to arrive before you've stepped into the level of consciousness required to receive it. Just as a seed pulls in water and sunlight not because it is chasing growth, but because it is becoming the tree it was meant to be, your desires draw you toward experiences that help you evolve into your potential. Sometimes life delays what you want because it is waiting for you to understand the value of what you're asking for. Other times, you're being shaped, strengthened, or softened, so that when the moment arrives, you won't sabotage it with old fears or doubts. Every setback becomes preparation, and every detour becomes refinement. What you seek doesn't disappear. It waits patiently for the version of you that can sustain it, honor it, and grow through it. When you begin to see your desires as guides instead of frustrations, everything changes. You no longer rush, panic, or fear the unknown. You start trusting that the thing you want is connected to you in ways you cannot yet see. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of alignment. And when your inner world rises to meet your desire, the desire will meet you, exactly at the right time. There is an unspoken tension that lives inside every human being. The constant push against what is, the need to control every outcome, the silent fear that if we do not force life into place, nothing will ever happen. But Alan Watts reminds us of a deeper paradox. The more you resist the present moment, the more life slows down. Resistance is like trying to swim upstream. Every stroke exhausts you, yet you make no real progress. Chapter 4 begins with the recognition that resistance does not protect you. It delays you. It keeps you locked in the same emotional patterns, repeating the same lessons, until you finally choose acceptance instead of struggle. Acceptance is often misunderstood as giving up, but it is actually the opposite. It is the moment you stop wasting energy on pushing life into shapes it was never meant to take. Acceptance does not mean agreeing with everything happening to you. It means acknowledging reality as it is, so you can move from clarity rather than denial. When you accept a situation, you free yourself from the emotional weight that keeps you stuck. This freedom allows you to see new possibilities, new paths, and new solutions that resistance had previously blinded you to. Think about how many times clarity arrived only after you stopped fighting a situation. The answer appeared when you stopped arguing with it. The opportunity came when you stopped forcing another outcome. The person you needed entered your life when you stopped chasing the wrong doors. Acceptance opens space, and space invites alignment. Resistance, on the other hand, tightens your mind and closes the inner channels where intuition and awareness naturally flow. Alan Watts often said that life is a dance, not a battle. In a dance, you move with the rhythm, not against it. Resistance is stepping out of sync. Acceptance is coming back into harmony. When you accept where you are, something powerful happens inside you. Your mind settles, your emotions loosen, and your inner world becomes receptive again. Only in that state can life communicate with you. Only in that state can timing unfold the way it's meant to. Every moment you accept becomes a moment of alignment, and alignment always accelerates what is meant for you. You start noticing opportunities you were too stressed to see before. You begin meeting people who reflect your new frequency. You make decisions not out of fear, but out of awareness. Acceptance creates a flow that carries you forward naturally, effortlessly, without the heaviness that resistance once created. In the end, acceptance becomes the doorway through which life delivers its timing. Not rushed, not delayed, but perfectly aligned with who you are becoming. There is a moment in everyone's life when they finally understand that life is not responding to their wishes, their complaints, or their impatience. Life is responding to their inner readiness. This is the essence of Chapter 5. Alan Watts often pointed out that we do not attract what we want. We attract what we are. The universe does not move according to our desperation, but according to the quiet, energetic signals we send through our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. When your inner world is chaotic, full of fear or doubt, the experiences that approach you mirror that internal state. But when your inner world becomes calm, open, and aligned, life begins to arrange itself in ways that seem almost magical. Inner readiness is not something that can be faked. You cannot mentally repeat affirmations while emotionally holding on to fear and expect the universe to move. Readiness is felt in the body, sensed in the heart, and known in the depths of your awareness. It is that moment when you stop grasping and start trusting, when you stop rushing and begin listening. Suddenly, the noise within you quiets, and you can feel subtle shifts guiding you. Opportunities that once felt distant begin to edge closer. People who can help you show up unexpectedly. Moments of clarity arise without being forced. It's not coincidence. It's energetic compatibility. Often, what delays your desires is not external circumstances, but internal conflict. You might crave a new life yet cling to old patterns. You might want meaningful relationships but secretly fear vulnerability. You might aim for success while quietly doubting your worth. These contradictions create static in your energy, making it difficult for the things you want to reach you. Inner readiness is the process of clearing that static, letting go of the fears, beliefs, and habits that contradict your intentions. When your inner state shifts, you no longer chase outcomes. You become a natural magnet for them. You start making choices that reflect your growth, not your fear. You attract people who resonate with your clarity, not your wounds. You walk with a sense of calm confidence rather than anxious striving. This readiness doesn't mean everything will suddenly be perfect, but it does mean the right things will begin to align with far less struggle. Life responds to who you are becoming. The more your inner world harmonizes with what you seek, the more effortlessly life begins to move in your favor. Inner readiness is not about controlling timing. It is about preparing yourself so that when the right moment arrives, you are able to recognize it, embrace it, and grow with it. There comes a point in your journey when you realize that every lesson, every challenge, every breakthrough arrives at the exact moment it is meant to. Nothing ever comes too early because you wouldn't understand it. Nothing ever comes too late because you would no longer need it. This is the quiet wisdom behind Chapter 6. Life becomes the teacher the moment the student within you is ready to learn. Alan Watts often reminded us that awareness is not something forced upon you. It reveals itself naturally when your consciousness can finally hold the insight without collapsing under its weight. You've likely experienced moments when advice made no sense until years later, when suddenly it illuminated everything you were going through, or situations that once felt overwhelming until you grew into a version of yourself capable of handling them with grace. This is the nature of readiness. Life does not waste lessons on a mind that is not prepared. It does not bring clarity to someone committed to their confusion. It does not deliver purpose to someone still hiding from their truth. Instead, it waits patiently, silently, until your awareness expands enough to receive what has always been available. In this sense, timing becomes a form of protection. You are shielded from experiences you're not equipped to handle and guided toward lessons that shape you into someone who can meet the future without fear. This is why certain people enter your life at specific moments, not because of coincidence, but because your awareness finally reached a state where their presence could teach you, elevate you, or even challenge you into transformation. The universe speaks through these encounters. Every person becomes a mirror reflecting the state of your consciousness. When you're ready, life starts communicating more clearly. Patterns that once confused you begin to make sense. Emotions that once controlled you become easier to navigate. You stop repeating cycles because you're no longer blind to the lesson inside them. Growth becomes intentional instead of accidental. You move with awareness rather than impulse. You begin to trust the rhythm of your life instead of panicking at every unknown turn. And as your readiness grows, something beautiful happens. Life stops feeling like a series of random events and begins to feel like a dialogue. Every moment teaches, every setback reveals, every opportunity invites. The world becomes a classroom, and your awareness becomes the seat from which you learn. Timing becomes something you no longer fear or question, because you finally understand that everything arrives the moment your consciousness can hold it. Absorb it and rise through it.